3, 2, 1. Hello!
Hello guys!
It's finally happening.
Finally. Just so you know, this is a long time coming. So welcome to our it's our first podcast. And it's called
The Outer Adult Inner Child Podcast.
So to introduce ourselves first, my name is Pearly. I'll be your co-host.
And I'm Fabian. I'm also the co-host. And yeah, I think we wanted to start this podcast because we realized I think we just yap a lot and we have a lot of experiences to share about stuff and a lot of opinions about things. And coming from the background that we come from, I think we just wanted to create a space for this, right? But maybe we can get into that a little bit more as well. So Pearly, who are you? Tell the people, who are you? Where do you come from?
My name is Pearly. I'll also be your co-host. So I knew Fabian from this same mental health health tech startup focusing on mental health. So all my life I've been working a lot with people. Since young, I've volunteered a lot. I've worked with NGO. I've worked with a mental health startup in a hospital, and right now I am in the education sector. In similar work, so very much like project delivery, operations, and at the end of the day, my ethos and my purpose in life, I think, right now is I would like to support people, like Fabian said, right? Like build communities, raise awareness, and then further from there, I would love to help people to figure out, like, hey, what do I do in this life? Like, what am I good at? How can I use my talents, and how can I make sure that I'm on the right path? So I'm doing that a lot in the education startup, and in my another life, I am a counselor in training. So I am currently actively pursuing my master's in counseling, collecting my hours right now. So that means I'm seeing clients, and hopefully I'll get my license by the end of 2025. Hopefully. So that's me, Pearly's outer adult currently.
So yes, hi, I am Fabian. My background's in psychology as well, but currently I'm working more in like operations and a little bit more into like workshops and trainings and things like that as well. And I too yap a lot, much like Pearly. And that's why we have all this, right? But I also just want to share, want to create this space, this community, this environment where people can share experiences. And I think in the future we want to invite people to come onto the podcast as well to share their take, to share their experiences and their stories about how they were brought up and how that affected them into adulthood, right? So I think this is a huge passion project for me as well, allowing us to create something new, I guess. As well.
Yeah. And just now I said long time coming, right? So maybe Fabian, you want to share like how did we come about this idea? Well, the idea about podcast is just because it's the in thing right now, and we want to and we ourselves, like among our group of friends, we always have good discussions, and we always want to hear more about other people and all of that. So podcast and talking is a very normal thing, right?
Like everyone and their grandma has a podcast, and everyone feels like they're entertaining enough that people want to listen to them.
Yep.
So do we.
So we got to do something about it. But tell us, Fabian, like, why did we name our podcast the Outer Adult Inner Child, OAIC podcast?
Yes. It was I honestly can't remember the full story about it, so like fill in blanks as well. But it honestly came from just like an Instagram message between the both of us. So we've been talking about like having a podcast, like joking around, like, oh my god, we're so funny, we're so talented, we're so amazing,
we are
like,
so
oh my
broken.
god, we're so broken, we have so much trauma to go through.
Yep.
So let's talk about it in a podcast instead of a mama. So over an Instagram post, I think I posted pictures on a story of me just like buying Pokemon plushies, because I grew up with Pokemon. I played a lot of Pokemon growing up, but obviously as a kid, you're not allowed to buy all these things.
And you like to play the machine, the claw machine.
Oh my god, I love claw machines. I love all the gachapons. I'm like basically a gambling addict without the money.
The one
It
ringgit
is.
claw machine, the 1 ringgit.
Honestly, it is gambling.
Yeah.
It is 100%
Yep.
it's gambling.
Yep.
Like everyone's buying like Pop Mart, like little blind boxes as
Yeah.
well. It's all
All
gambling.
gambling. Yeah.
All these people, prime gambling, prime gambling addicts and like gambling, what's it called, customers, right? Good thing, get on it. You know, you got your audience right there. Create blind boxes in your casinos.
Mm.
But yeah, so I forgot why when was this, but I was buying like a bunch of these like plushies and Pokemon plushies, and I was playing claw machines and stuff like that. And I posted it on a story, and then like you were like, what did you say again?
I think I said like, you need help, bro.
Oh yeah, I need help. You need help. You said I need help,
Yeah.
and I said, oh my god, I'm just trying to heal my inner child. And then my next sentence was, but no one's gonna be there to heal my outer adult.
And then immediately that was like the cha-ching moment of like, hey, that's so cool. That's very funny because one, like our humor is like pretty broken,
Mm.
but two is like it was a like just a light bulb moment where it was a nice name, it was fun, and it was really like the start of like, hey, we should really talk about it properly, because we have always been saying like, oh, we are getting therapy, we are getting some help, we need more help and all of that. And I think that was like the moment where we truly felt like, hey, maybe it's time for us to really take a serious step to this passion project of ours. And to spread the word and to spread awareness more amongst our friends and the people who want to hear about psychology and to learn about themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think just to kick things off, a little bit of like, I guess housekeeping rules. If you want to go into that now. So housekeeping rules. I think that we mentioned just now, right? When it comes to the intentions of like why do we want to do this and why is this like a huge passion project for us. I think primarily, I think we both agree on this. Like we want to create a community of people where people can share experiences, people can talk about feeling, can talk about whatever like went on in their childhood to adulthood. We will talk about things on like relationships and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, it is because a lot of times when we go through certain things, we feel that we are alone. We feel like our situation is very unique and people don't understand us. But most of the time, or more often than not, other people are also experiencing it. Maybe the context is a little bit different. Maybe the situation is a little bit different. But because we are humans, the emotions are real, the experiences are valid. There is some like
Consistency in a way.
consistency, yeah, that thread, the common thread among all of us, right? So we felt that we want to use this space to share from our perspective, and maybe hopefully we have guests and they'll come in and share their perspective. But then with that, that means it hopefully gives you an idea like, hey, you're not alone. Hey, there are other people who share similar experiences and who you can connect with to get support from and of each other.
Yeah. I think I cannot count the number of times I've told like people around me or even told myself like, oh, they won't understand. Like you guys won't understand a lot. Or like rather like, I don't know if this is a weird way to think about it, but so and so and so and so. Like, oh, I said this, I don't know if it's kind of weird. Like maybe I'm just quirky and weird that way.
Yeah.
But no, like it's sometimes it's just something that everyone thinks about. But
Correct.
like you think it's weird or different, but maybe everyone's just the same weird.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Everyone the same. Yeah.
Everyone's the same weird. The same
Yeah.
birds of a feather and all that sometimes as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so creating this community is one of the biggest reasons we want to be able to do this. And yeah, also just for us to interestingly meet different people and have that conversation with more and more people as well. So we'll have conversation not just with our friends, but hopefully with clinical professionals as well, people in the industry, maybe our ex-bosses or our ex-colleagues as well, and that will be an interesting one to talk about. Yeah.
So hopefully, like as we talk about our stories and experiences, we'll also weave in what research says, what are some of the real theories about that you can read up on your own as well, right? Because we want to help people to name the experiences that they have, or put a term to what they're experiencing, but that's a way of processing it, but more so more so after that is for you to also do your own research, read up more about it, a point of connection and point of growth from then on. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of like a trigger warning, so to speak. Some of the topics that we will talk about, we'll go into trauma, we'll go into abuse, like verbal abuse, some even like physical abuse. We'll go into topics of anxiety, depression, stress. Even sometimes talking about family interactions can be triggering to some
Mm,
people,
mm,
because yeah, like everyone goes through very different traumas and things like that.
yep.
So these are the things that just want to let you guys know, and
Mm,
hopefully we don't get censored for it.
yep. Hopefully.
There are worse things out there in the internet that are not being censored.
Yep.
To be fair, like even on YouTube, that you can find horrible things. But yeah, like hopefully this passes through that. Right?
Yeah. So in every episode, we will definitely share about like the topic, what exactly we talk about, and some trigger warnings, just in case
Mm,
it's something uncomfortable to you, or you're not you don't want to hear that, and then feel free to skip it out, right?
mm,
But we try to be as honest
mm.
and as transparent as we can. We also want to be very respectful. A lot of the things that we share is going to be a fact, right? Like what has happened to us. For example, we are
Mm.
Asians. Naturally, we experience some of caning, right? Corporal punishment. I don't believe in corporal punishment, but naturally in our systems and our culture, it happens,
Mm.
right? And it might have been a really really bad experience. It could be very traumatizing for us. But when we speak about that, we speak of it as a fact that it has happened.
Yeah.
We are learning from it. We are retrospecting and reflecting
Mm.
on it, but in no way, shape, or form that we are
Like pointing
pointing fingers.
fingers. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, we're not accusing someone. So please also do take note that a lot of the stories that we share it as a matter of fact, flat. I always say, like,
Yeah.
we always put meaning into things, right? So
Mm.
the stuff that we are sharing, we say it flat.
Mm.
And I hope that you don't put any negative meaning to it, and it's just a point of like reflection for all of
Yeah,
us.
and I think it's just that even for us, it's just more of a processing kind of thing, right?
Mm,
Like it has happened to us. We want to know, like, oh, how did it affect us as
mm,
adults? How did it affect our opinions of things, right?
yeah.
Like you didn't grow up with corporal punishment, for example, but I did as well. So, like, do I believe in it? Was that actually a good thing? Like, you would imagine a person who has been caned, like, or like horribly whacked to the ground,
Yep.
right? You would think like growing up, maybe they won't agree with it,
Yeah.
but to some degree, maybe like for example, for me, like I think some degree of corporal punishment is necessary. For example, like it has to be.
Or certain acts of behaviors
Yeah,
deserves corporal punishment, because that's how like kids have to learn, like
yeah,
to a
yeah,
certain extent. So again, a lot of this are no like black and white, no right or wrong. We say it as a matter of factly, and from there we
yeah.
reflect. Yeah.
um, just to preface what I remember with that, it's like it has to be like a last resort sort of thing. By the way, like for
Yeah.
me, it's like a last resort kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
Like if nothing else works for some reason, like you did something really bad, like you stole something from a shop or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty
Or
bad.
like bullying someone,
Yeah,
right?
bullying someone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also one of
I'm
the
all for. Sorry,
things
go
that
ahead.
I wanted to say was, um this is our passion project, so like we don't really share it with our family per se, right? So we ourselves are also learning how to toe the line and
Mm.
be respectful and have those boundaries, because we don't want people who know about our family suddenly look at my parents and his parents in a different way and a different light, right?
Mm.
A lot of this are really sharing of stories, um, just as sharing of stories.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've actually recorded a few episodes of this already.
Mm.
Sorry to spoil it, but like this is not exactly the first one. But
As you know, recordings always do that, right? We just record, we backdate everything.
yeah, but yeah, like there are things that I've already shared, for example, that I'm still like to this day kind of worried about, right?
Mm,
Like will it go to my parents? What would they think, kind
yeah.
of thing. But I think it all comes, like, at least for me, I like to preface that it does come from a space of learning. It comes from a space of love.
Yep.
It comes from a space of trying to understand
Yep.
their point of view of things,
Yep.
like my point of view of things, and how it has affected me,
Mm.
and what we can learn from that as well,
Mm.
right?
Yep. So that's like the second housekeeping thingy that we wanted to share. The third one is, in every episode, like I
Mm.
said, we try to insert some theory, some background, some research into it, and at the end of the day as well, we want you to kind of, at the end of of our sessions, to take away with something. So maybe we'll give you a homework or a point of reflection, like,
Mm.
hey, why don't you think about this? Why don't you practice this?
Yeah.
Why don't you try this? We want to make it as useful to you. We really want to make this session fun, like every episode to be fun, to be casual, to be friends with each other, right? But me being the studious one, I always want to to make sure that you guys go back with something. So Fabian and I decided, like, hey, in every episode, we try to see if there's any applicable practices, or stuff that you can do on your own time, after the episode ends.
Mm. Yeah. So maybe just jumping into a little bit of the content itself, right? So we call this the outer adult inner child, but what does that actually mean?
Mm.
So yeah, like for you, what does the inner child actually mean, and how does that
Yep.
translate to an outer adult? Right?
So, like, I believe that every single thing that how we behave, as adults, how we think, our core beliefs, are product of our childhood. And as we grow older, we still have this inside of us, this unconscious part of us, and I think it's our inner child, where whatever that our when we're younger, whether we have it or we lack of it, it still stays with us even though as we grow older. So our outer adult is who we are, like me, 30-year-old female corporate person. um, but inside of us, my inner child, um, that may have experienced certain things or may have not experienced certain things, still show up
Mm.
in my daily life right now. And how this shows up will affect our behaviors lah, right? So for example, like, my inner child didn't had a lot of physical touch. My parents were not like a huggy kind of person. So as an outer adult, it shows up in the sense that my inner child craves for physical touch. So I'm very touchy feely with my partner.
Mm.
I like to hug a lot. I don't hug my parents now as much, but because now I have a partner and I can trust my partner and I love my partner, it shows up that way. Yeah, so that's how I see it, inner child after adult, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I think, I mean, that's like on the topic of like love languages and
Mm-mm.
love languages and all that, right?
Mm-mm.
Like, it wasn't something, like, at least for me, because I didn't read, like, was it Gary Chapman? Gary
Mm-mm.
Chapman's book on love languages, anything like
Mm-mm.
that. But I never thought of it as something related to one's childhood, right?
Mm.
Like, I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it as like, oh, it's based on how we see our parents do things, or what do we receive growing up or didn't receive growing up, and how that affected me
Yep.
as well. Because I think, yeah, very similarly, didn't grow up with a lot of like physical touch stuff, but me and my partner as well. Yeah, we're like huge physical touch people. Like, we love hugging, we love cuddling, like holding hands and all this kind of stuff. It's like physical touch, especially in an Asian context, and at least for me, it's like a Christian relationship as well, right?
Yeah.
It's always like
How do
kind
we
of
toe
dodgy,
the line?
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, like, where do we toe the line, kind of thing, like, is it
Yeah.
okay, is it not okay?
Yeah.
So it's like stuff that, at least for me, I was very straightforward with, and
Mm.
like in my relationship, like, I talked about these things because
Mm.
it's something that I have processed before. It's
Yep.
something I've thought about. It's like, hey, like, how do we kind of, like, for me, the best way to kind of address these things is to quite
Communicate
literally,
about it.
yeah, quite literally, to just address it. Like, what
Yep.
do you think about this?
Yep.
Is this important to you? Is it not? And so on and so forth, right?
Yeah. So in all of our episodes, how we typically start, or how we imagine we will typically start, is like, what's the latest topic, or what do we struggle with this week, or
Mm,
what came up with us for us this week. And then from there we try to dissect it, like, oh, can we relate it back to when we were younger? Like, do we experience the same thing? Do we feel the same thing? And
mm.
why? And we try to dissect it a little bit more, and we try to relate it lah to what we're experiencing now and our childhood. And that's where the inner child comes in.
Yeah. I mean, like on top of my mind right now, there are even topics where it's talking about your self esteem,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like very, very commonly, in like, I don't know if it's just in an Asian household, but like for me growing up, I wasn't the most fit person, for example. So I
Me
got,
too.
yeah, like, but I think, yeah, both of us, we talked about this a bit as well. Right, growing up, we've always had that auntie, that uncle, or even our own parents kind of saying like, "Oh, like, why you eat so much? Or
Yeah.
you're so fat? Like,
Yeah.
so long no girlfriend ah, so long no
Yeah.
boyfriend ah. I wonder why." Okay, I don't know if it's that bad. I can't remember. Blocked out from my memory at this point. But yeah, like all these kind of things, like parents calling us stupid and that kind of stuff as well, right?
Mm.
It's things that in that moment, like, as a parent as well, you wouldn't think it has that much effect.
Yeah.
But I think as people grow up, these things stick,
Yep.
right? Like how that formed that inner child in you. I guess that's also how you define an inner child as well, right? Like your experiences growing up, and
Yep.
how that has stuck with you
Mm.
into your adulthood,
Mm.
and how that translates into your quote unquote the outer adult.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. So that's how our episode's going to be like, and that's how we are going to try to go about for every topic lah,
Mm,
basically.
mm.
So Fabian, so if people are interested
Ooh,
and would like to share more, and get more friends to listen to us, where can they find us?
ooh. Almost forgot. Thanks for reminding me. So I think by now, I'm not sure which platform that you're going to be listening this on, but we're going to be on Spotify. We're going to be on YouTube. We're also going to be, obviously, you can find us on Instagram at outer.innerchild. You can also email us at outer.innerchild.pod@gmail.com. So if you have any feedback, any questions, or any specific topics that you want us to get into, or any stories they personally want to share as well, right? I think that would be really, really interesting
Yeah,
to
that'd be
hear from
cool.
people. So if we can put out a topic onto our social media posts and be like, hey, like, would you like to share a story about this?
Yep.
DM us about stuff. And yeah, happy to share about them on the podcast itself as well.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram. Drop us an email. Where else? Anywhere else?
And TikTok.
And TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just called outer.innerchild as well.
Yep.
Right. Links will be in the description of our Instagram page, our YouTube page, and Spotify pages.
Yeah. And we will drop every new episodes every 2 weeks, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. This is also like our way of keeping ourselves accountable and being disciplined to really work on our passion project as
Mm.
we go along in our daily lives. So see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.